Do you ever catch yourself imagining the worst possible outcome for something and then find yourself replaying this scene over and over in your mind like you are trying to mentally prepare yourself for this terrible thing to really happen? Or maybe you replay painful memories in your mind again and again to the point where you start to experience the emotions you felt when you were going through these things. This is something that I struggled with for years, but I had no idea, firstly, that it even had a name, but also how often I was really doing it and how negatively it was affecting my life. So today I want to talk about what this cognitive pattern is and how we can break free from it, because it is a lot more destructive than we think. So what we're talking about here is something called rehearsing tragedy. And like I said, it's when we replay these worst case scenarios in our mind over and over and over again, and then try to mentally brace ourselves for these imaginary disasters by envisioning them in vivid detail. It's almost like in our mind, we are practicing for the very things that we fear are going to happen. We think about every potential thing that could go wrong, and sometimes we even dig up painful memories as reminders that bad things can happen that we believe we need to be ready for. It's similar to catastrophizing in that we are focusing only on worst case outcomes, but when we rehearse tragedy, we're not just anticipating these negative outcomes that are highly unlikely to happen, we mentally and emotionally experience them over and over again. So why would we do this? Well, because we think we're protecting ourselves in some way. We think that if we prepare ourselves for the worst, it won't be as painful when it happens because we're ready for it. And on paper, it makes sense. But in actuality, it just keeps us stuck in a cycle of fear and anxiety. In fact, this constant mental practice can actually deepen our fear and anxiety and make us feel completely powerless and stuck, and like the world is this terrible, scary place where unlimited, horrible things can happen because there's really no limits to our imagination. And over time, these repetitive rehearsals can really start to increase our stress levels and keep us from enjoying the present moment and even from taking action on our goals and moving forward. This is something that I definitely learned the hard way. So how do we break free from this cycle? Well, the first step is to notice and challenge your thoughts. We need to start catching ourselves in the act. And if we do notice that we are rehearsing a tragedy, we need to stop ourselves and ask ourselves some questions like, what is the likelihood that this would really happen? And are my thoughts grounded in reality? And if we figure out that they probably are not, then a great tool for reframing these thoughts is the ABC model that comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. This is something that I use that has completely changed my life, and I have a whole video that walks you through what it is and exactly how to use it that I will link down below, because again, this is probably the thing that has helped me the most personally. But this is something that we can kind of attack from a few different angles. One of them is to focus on what we can do now. So in other words, instead of just mentally preparing ourselves for these disastrous situations that are most likely never ever even going to happen, we can instead take a small action towards improving the situation we are in, because it's action, not mental rehearsal, that actually makes us feel better and allows us to move forward. Rehearsing tragedy just keeps us stuck in our head, whereas taking action pulls us into the present moment where we can still make a difference. And it doesn't even mean that we have to somehow try to figure out how to solve the problem, but it immediately gives us a sense of relief to do something proactive, even if it's something really small. We have to start realizing that worrying and replaying these worst case scenarios in our mind really does nothing at all to help us. Something that can help, however, is mindfulness. We need to train ourselves to pause and bring our focus back to the present moment when we notice we are replaying these terrible situations in our mind, whether they be about future anxieties or just reliving past traumatic events. Because either way, these things are not happening in this moment. So there is no reason to allow ourselves to suffer as though they really were. The more we can start to ground ourselves in the here and now, the better we are going to feel. But if this is something that we're having trouble with and we still find ourselves spiraling, one trick that can help is to stop everything and to look around the room and ask ourselves, what can I see, feel, or hear right at this second? Believe it or not, this helps pull us out of the cycle and helps to reduce the power of our negative mental images. And finally, instead of rehearsing the worst, try visualizing a positive outcome. And I know this may seem a little bit weird or uncomfortable at first because we are so used to imagining the opposite happening, but just close your eyes and envision yourself succeeding and being able to handle all these challenges with confidence and being able to move forward in your life no matter what happens. By mentally rehearsing success instead of tragedy, we actually start to rewire our brain and break these negative patterns. We just have to remember that we do have the power to rewrite our mental script. It just comes down to training our brain how to do it. So I truly hope that you found this video helpful and that some of the strategies work for you. I will go ahead and link down that cognitive behavioral therapy video in the description box because I think that could be helpful as well. Please know that this is something that you can completely overcome. I am living proof of that. I want to thank you so much for being here. We are in this together, and I will see you in the next video.